We are now going to be working on the silver dollar eucalyptus. Now this is a little bit airier and free-flowing eucalyptus, as you can see in this photo. It's not a tightly grouped flower. It is more light and airy. So we're going to be making those, and in this mold we're going to be using these four right here. So there's a extra large, large, medium, and small. And we're going to be using the sage colored gum paste, again the same color. However, when we color dust it, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently to give it a different look. Okay, so the balls of paste sizes that you're going to need are going to be a 6 small, a 6 regular, a 7 small, and 7 regular. And as we talked about before, the small means that you can, when you make the size, it will just kind of slide right through easily. This is a little bit big. This is actually more, as you can see, it's 1/3 on the bottom, 2/3 on the top. So this is more of a regular. So to get a small, we will make it just big enough so it fits through the hole easily. So we're going to make 6 of these. We'll start out with these. And like I said before, you don't have to use the size guide each time. You just want to kind of get a quick measurement. And that slides through nicely. And this fits through. It's a little bit too big, so I'm just going to take a pinch off of that one, and then that's fine. And then we'll do one more. I'm not going to do each of the sizes all at once because I don't want the balls of paste to dry out. So we're just going to do one size at a time. And this one fits through nicely. Actually, that was a little small, so I'm going to add just a smidgen more. All right, so we'll put the rest of our paste back. And we will put our other extra balls underneath this cup. And we'll start out with the small. Now, before we use them, we're going to add a little bit of shortening. We haven't used these molds yet, so we want to condition them. All right, now we are basically going to be doing the same thing that we did in the baby blue. So what you want to do, you condition your paste and roll it into a nice smooth ball, and you put it in the mold, and you just kind of spread it out. Since this is more rounded, you don't have to create a log or anything like that. It's more rounded. And we'll get our cosmetic sponge. We want to get the veining in there. Okay, now that we have it in there nicely, you want to create that ridge in the center so you have a space for the floral wire. Okay, and for this eucalyptus, we're going to be using 28 gauge like we did with the other flowers. Now, most of the flowers stems that we're going to be using in this course is going to be the 28 gauge. However, in a couple of lessons, we're going to be using different sizes, so we'll go over them when we get there. And then we're going to put a little bit of edible glue onto the flower, or I'm sorry, on the wire, and then we're just going to guide it through. And you want to guide it through where the ridge is. You don't want to go too far down because then you'll end up coming out on the other side. Okay, and then you just want to make sure you want to clean up your edges, make sure you don't have any gum paste hanging around. And then we're going to vein the back, and we're going to just use this regular old veiner. It's a universal veiner. Give it a little veining, and then you can touch it up a little bit, and then we turn it over, we bring it out, and then we just kind of neaten it up a little bit. And there's a little pinch of gum paste down here that we don't need, so you can kind of take that off. It's just going to get in the way, actually. And you have your veining on this side. And then you just get your pad and you turn the good veining side down, and you get your ball tool and you just kind of flatten out the edges a little bit, thin them out, and it makes it more realistic looking. Okay, and then you can use your companion tool, and you could just cup this in a little bit. All right, now you're ready to let this one dry, and we're going to dry it just the way we dried the others. Going to just place it on our egg crate, and then we'll move on to the next one. I'll show you one more, and then we'll just work on our projects. So we'll do another one in the same fashion, and you can kind of, if your gum paste is a little sticky, you can add a little cornstarch on it, and then you just press it in. And make sure you get the veining in there. You can press in with the cosmetic sponge, and then you create your ridge, and then you get your floral wire, and we're using the 28 gauge floral wire, and we're going to push it up, and then you can do your veining on the back. You just turn it around and push it out, and then just kind of neaten it up a little bit. And if you have any excess, you can take that off. And then we get our pad and our ball tool, and we just very lightly thin around the edges. And then you turn it over to the side where the good veining is, and we get our companion tool, and we just kind of taco it in a little bit. I call it tacoing. And there you have another one made. And then we're just going to let that one dry. All right, so we're going to do the same process on each one of these sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large. And we're going to make 4 of each. And then once we're finished making all of them and they dry, typically a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes I like to let them sit overnight just to make sure that they're dry. And then we're going to come back, and then we're going to put the floral tape on them and start the arrangement. Okay, so I have my groupings together. I have the 4 small, 4 medium, 4 large, and 4 extra large. They are dry, and I have done the floral tape on them already. I'm using light green, and I went down about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way down. I did save one to show you. Okay, so I want to do this last one with you, just to show you, and it's pretty much the same in all of the lessons. You just start out and with an anchor. You start out a little bit below, and you spin it around a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then you tape down just a little bit, and then you push this up, and then you can tape down. Okay, all right, so we have all of our petals taped, our leaves taped, and then now we're going to make the arrangement. Now the silver dollar eucalyptus is a more airy and open type of plant, so it's not like the baby blue one where it's a very tight grouping. These are a little bit more open. We are going to use 22 gauge green wire. I cut it in half because we're going to make a main stem, and then we're also going to make a side stem, and the side stem is going to be a little bit smaller, and then we're going to attach the side stem to the main stems, and you'll see what I mean once we get started. Now for putting the arrangement together, we're going to use brown half-width floral tape, and let's see here, I already stretched it. We got to stretch it out. I already cut it in half. Now we're going to start out with 2 small ones. We're going to kind of bend them a little bit. Now you want to give them more room here. With the baby blue eucalyptus, we were pretty much not giving too much of a stem. With these, we're going to give them more of a stem. So we're going to bend that way, and then we're going to bend this way. And then you want one to be a little bit further down than the other. So we're going to bring this one up. Okay, so then right where these two meet, where they want to meet naturally here, we're going to add our 22 gauge wire. I'm going to put it right there. And then we're going to tape the two together. You want one up a little higher than the other. So let's bring this one down a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so then we're just going to come down and then we're going to add in a medium. So we want to give it some stem. Actually, I'm going to come down a little bit further. You don't want your groupings to be tight, so you want to give them space in between each one as they come down. And you'll be able to move them around a little bit, so you don't worry about that, but you want to come down a little bit with each one. And then we're going to put a large one in. And we're just going to go around kind of in a spiral. We're just going to do a spiral going around. And we'll do another large one. And then we will do an extra large one. You may not be using all these up, so you just want to make enough to make sure that you have enough, and you may want to be changing your design. So once you get them all together, you may want to change it up a little bit. All right, so we have a little bit of a spiral going here. And then we're going to come down a little. And I think I'm going to add another extra large here. And then we're just going to come down all the way. Okay. So then you have you can just kind of maneuver these around a little bit, getting them facing the direction that you want them in. All right, so then we're going to set this down, and we're going to make a small one also. We're going to make another one. And this is going to be off on a branch off of the main one. So we'll stretch this out, and we'll do like we did before, and we're going to put two of them together. Let's do this one at the top. Put the stem on. And we'll bring this down a little. And how about we'll skip some mediums and we'll do some larges. These are going to be it's a smaller stem, and we're just going to add a few pieces. And we'll add we'll do an extra large, and we'll throw in another extra large. All right, you want to be careful that your tape doesn't get twisted, and you just go down the stem. Go all the way down. Okay. Now, we have these are extra. And then we're going to bring this stem, we're going to give it a little bit of a bend, like maybe right about here. And then we're going to give this stem a little bit bend and right about here. And we're going to place them right so they're pretty close together. Our stem, this is our side stem here. All right, so we're going to bring our stem right about here. I'm going to put these two together. Now, I did kind of rush this process, and it looks like a few of them are not quite dry yet. So if you see any of them that are kind of wobbling around, it's because I did not let them dry completely because I wanted to get to the putting it together. So you don't want to do that. If you see your leaves wobbling around a little bit, it means that they're not quite dry yet, and you want to give them more time to dry. But for the purpose of this video, we're doing fine. All right, so now we have our main stem, and you can just kind of rearrange as you wish. The main stem is right here. I want to push these a little bit further inward, going up, push a little higher, and then we'll bring these around. All right, so we're going to do some coloring. Now, for the coloring, we are not going to add any blue. For the coloring of this one, we're just going to use straight up eucalyptus with some pearl dust. So let's get some eucalyptus. And we're going to add some super pearl in there. And you want to add maybe 50-50 because you do want this to be pretty pearly, like a pearly color. So it's nice and pearly. Pretty color. And then we're just going to brush on the super pearl on the front and back of each of the petals. I'm doing it very delicately right now because some of them are not quite dry and I don't want to knock them off the wire. These are really lovely. I do love these. They're very light and airy. Now with these extra ones we have, you can make another stem, and you can put another stem a little bit further down. Just take another 22 gauge wire and you can elongate the stem and make it longer and add these extra ones. So the extra ones will never go to waste. Okay, and as you can see, they're very shiny. They have a nice sheen to them. So we're going to turn them over, and we're going to do the same thing to the back. You can see the difference between the flat ones and the shiny ones. Because the silver dollar eucalyptus has a nice sheen to it, and this pearl dust is the perfect way to get that. Okay. All right, so we are finished with this color. So I'm going to place it aside. And then in our previous lesson, we used a light brown. It was chocolate brown, and we used cornstarch to lighten it up. So we're going to be using a little bit of that. Let me get my brown brush that I used. I try to reuse the same brushes. This way you're not constantly going through brushes. And then you want to get the chocolate brown, and you want to color. Actually, I need a little bit more of a stiffer brush. And you want to color the stems a little bit. the green stems, we're going to give them a little bit of a chocolate brown color. Let me see if I can put this on here. And then we're going to come up a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of green. I'm sorry, we're going to add a little bit of the chocolate brown to the green stems. So they still look green, however, they blend in a little bit better. They're not quite so bright. And actually, I think I'm going to use a little bit straight up brown. To make it a little bit darker. We don't want it too dark, but we don't want it this light either. So we're going to add some more brown. And this helps darken the stem a little bit. And it helps blend it in more. This guy keeps wanting to spin around because he's not quite dry yet. I did teach a little YouTube video on how to prevent your flowers from spinning. And one of the things was you make sure that it's completely dry before you lift it up. So for the sake of the video, I just wanted to get these done, and I realized that they weren't completely dry yet, but that's okay. All right, so then the last color that we're going to use is just a dab of yellow. And that's about all I want. I don't want a lot of yellow. And I'm just going to get a brush that didn't have any color on it. And we're just going to put just a dab of yellow at the base. Very slightly. And you'll notice Eucalyptus in the wild, they do have a yellowish tinge at the base. And it's just on the front where that taco area is. And there you have it. All right, so there we have our silver dollar eucalyptus. And pardon my ones that have spin because they are not quite dry yet. So I'm going to sit them down and let them finish drying. And tomorrow I'm going to steam them. I'm not going to steam them right now because they're still a little wet because I haven't let them completely dry. So tomorrow I'm going to steam them and then they will be finished. All right, folks, we're going to move on to the next lesson.